Hey there. Welcome back to the Golfweek Amateur Tour, the podcast. Chris, should we tell people how to join the tour?
Of course. Whether you're a seasoned member or just tuning in to learn more, we're here to help you dive into the ins and outs of the tour. If you've been on the fence about joining, there's no better time than now. It's a fantastic way to play competitive golf, meet other passionate golfers, and step up your game.
Registration is open. All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership dues.
And if you want to keep up with all things Golfweek Amateur Tour, make sure you're subscribed and listening to the podcast on your favorite platform. Don't forget to download each episode, share it with your golf buddies, and if you're enjoying the show, drop us a like and a review. Your feedback helps us grow the community and reach more golfers just like you. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's get into today's episode.
Chris, welcome back. It's good to see you, bud.
Likewise, I'm glad that you're back in the driver's seat. Got to see all the controls you get to deal with on your end, and I'll go ahead and gladly hand them back. It's good to have you back, brother.
It's good to be back, and I'm hoping I didn't get Wally pipped. I
Wally
keep
pipped.
Well, yeah, you know about Wally Pip?
No.
You don't know about Lou Gehrig?
Well, I mean, I've never heard it that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know why you never heard of Wally Pip? Because you've heard of Lou Gehrig. See? All you young people these days, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I'm back. Everybody just strap in. This is going to be a very special episode. We've got a lot going on. Going to do a tribute to a tour director. We've got a very special player guest, and we're going to make an announcement about the contest. Ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, bud. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Golfweek Amateur Tour proudly presents Golfweek Amateur Tour, the podcast, talking about all things Golfweek Amateur Tour, including interviews with tour directors, players, and course professionals. Now here are your hosts, Tim Newman and El Paso Las Cruces Tour Director, Chris Rocha.
Chris, welcome back. It's good. It's good to see you. You know, I got to tell you, I'm kind of afraid for my job. You and Gabe did a great job last episode. So I'm hoping I still have a job after that. And, you guys did a phenomenal job.
I appreciate it. No, you will. I know he's been waiting on the sidelines to do this, and like I said, it seems like once a year we end up doing it, which is fine. But he was super excited when I told him we were going to do that, and asking, do we have a list of questions? It's like, oh no, we're going to freestyle it. You got a question, just raise your hand and ask it. And it turned out great. I had a great time.
Yeah, that's really kind of the best way to go. It's conversational, and you can touch on a lot of different topics. And as I mentioned in the cold opening, I hope everybody straps in. This is going to be an episode that we've not done before. And we'll talk about some things, but we've got we're going to talk about a tour director who's passed, a real special story about a golfer from Tampa, and then we'll wrap things up with some other memories of John Livoti, and we're finally going to be able to announce the competition this year, the contest.
We've been talking about it for a while, and we finally got the approval, and I'm excited. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, so Chris, I don't know if there's a good way to introduce this. We've over the course of the tour, we've lost a number of players and tour directors. It's never easy, and this one, for me is also kind of personal. He's phenomenal. He was a good tour director, but he was a phenomenal person. And so what I want to do now is is bringing Jared Beard from the Columbia, South Carolina tour. There we go. Because Jared took over for John Livoti. Well, Jared, what's been now 3 years now?
This would be my third full year. Yes.
Yeah, going into his third year, and John Livoti had been around for forever, long before I came around. I think he originally started as a Myrtle Beach tour director. I believe he was the Upstate tour director for a while, and then really kind of settled into Columbia. And I'll tell some stories about John a little bit later. But Jared, first off, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on and talking about John. I know he meant a lot to the tour, but talk about your relationship with him and what he did up there in Columbia.
Yeah, so I first met John in 2011 when I joined the tour. Got to my first event, and there's this. He was an older gentleman then. I think he was probably 70. A little old man sitting at the table wearing a big brimmed hat, and that was, if you know John, that was his shtick, always in a hat. And as a New Yorker and as a younger South Carolinian, there was definitely a difference in some of the dynamic when we had some conversations. And at first, I wouldn't say abrasive, but he definitely had that New York kind of twang to him. And after the first event, he sat with me because I stayed the whole time, and we talked for a good bit. And I really kind of got to know him and where he was from. He started telling me stories about his family and how he got here and what he did. And by the end of my first event, we were friends already. He had a really knack for making friends with people and telling stories and just being a really great outgoing guy, even though sometimes he was a little abrasive on some stuff. But if you liked him, then you liked him.
Yeah, and you say that, and everywhere John went, he made friends, and he was a fun guy. I'm not gonna be able to tell a lot of these stories because they're not necessarily for public consumption, but some of the things that he would do or say. I remember one of the very first times that I worked with John. We did a combo event with I was running Upstate at the time, and we did a combo event with Columbia and Augusta at the Patriot. This was 2015, 2016, somewhere along those lines. And I didn't know John real well at the time. Didn't know Phil real well at the time, but first off, Phil Robinson is one of my favorite people of all time. I mean, he was just a great guy. John ranks way up there as well. Let's say maybe a step below, but two great people. And at the time, I didn't know them real well. And I came up, and the two of them were going back and forth. I'm like, wait a second, you can't be saying those things to each other. But that was who they. I mean, they were friends, and that's just who they were, right?
Yeah, and Phil, I met him several times through the tour, and he was another great guy. And you're right, when those two got together, it's like, are y'all friends, or are y'all like y'all going back and forth and just giving each other a hard time all the time? And John was really good about giving people hard times, but that came out of a place of love.
It absolutely did,
He was just as my experience, he'd call me out for lunch occasionally, especially when we started talking about, transferring the tour, and being with lunch and just sitting down and talking to him, getting to know him even better. Again, always some kind of story, always trying to be helpful with, something that we could do moving forward. Technology wasn't his strong suit, even though he was in communications for I think almost all his life. But as we kind of got into the computer age, some of that fell to the wayside. So I had to kind of help him along a little bit and explain some things. But he always was motivating and trying to get me to just be better and be better for the tour.
I would say that you nailed it there. Technology wasn't his thing. And we'll leave it at that, because again, I got stories there too. But when it came down to it, he always wanted wanted the tour to be better. Everything that he did was really aimed at making the tour better, the player experience better. And, you know, he was like one of the first people that I went to a different tour where, and others may have done it too, but he was one of the first I saw, but always had snacks, always had bananas, always had water, always had, crackers or something out for the players. And he said, what he told me was, if you do something small like this, it doesn't cost a lot of money, but that goes a long way into the players appreciating and wanting to come back for the tour, because it's kind of a low cost value add.
Yeah. And, we continue that to this day. And on that point, before the live scoring, system, we had scoreboards, right? And so players would sit around and, watch the scores come in and be put up on the board. But in the meantime, John would sometimes buy beers for the players, and, the players would sit around and they'd chat and they'd tell them about whatever golf stories they had during the day. And, just like the camaraderie and, the friendship and the fellowship was super important to him, not it's a value add, I guess, but, I think he wanted that, and he wanted for the players to all, be together and talk about their times.
Give me a funny story, a funny appropriate story about John that you could tell on here, just so that the listeners who don't know John could get an idea of who he really was.
I gotta think of the appropriate ones. So, he was, let's see, just the communication. He was talking about some advertising stuff one day about, how he was, up in New York and kind of how he got started. And, he was talking about his kids and his love for baseball when he was younger. And, he went straight into, the advertising and communications business right out of high school. And, he stayed there for forever. He was started in New York, and I think he went out, Midwest somewhere. And then he got a job at WIS, I believe, in the 70s, and he moved to Columbia. And that's where he stayed. And I think he met I can't remember where he met his wife, but he always told really great stories about, his wife, and you could tell that he really, really cared for her, especially, in the last few years. But he always talked about his family. He talked about his nephews. He talked about all his sons. He was a very, very loving family person. And, I did meet, several of his family along the way, and, you could just tell that he was it really, really meant a lot to him, like everybody in his life, whether it be the players or whether it be his family. You could really tell that everything really meant something to him. And, I think if we all could, do a better job of making people feel appreciated. And, so I think that's what he left on me.
Yeah. Chris, you were up at Whistling Straits one year, but the year before you came up, John called me and said, Tim, he didn't call me Tim. He called me Skinny, is what he called me. So let's be real and honest. I mean, he calls everybody kid,
right?
But if you got a nickname, that means you're good, right? So he would call me Skinny. I don't know why. And he said, I want to come up to Whistling Straits with my son Thomas. I said, okay, let me know what you need. He said, well, he's not a member, and I'm going to need you to help me out. I said, okay, we'll just tell me whatever you need to do. We'll make it work. And so we got him in, and I said, John, are you going to play with him? Because I think Thomas is either a champ flight or an A-flight player. He was pretty good. He said, are you going to play with him? Do you want to play too? He said, no. All he wanted to do was just walk around and watch his son play Whistling Straits. That's all he wanted to do. And, the first day up there was Friday. They played in a skins game, and it was brutal cold. I mean, cold. Wind was blowing. They played at the Irish course. And John lasted, I think, 2 or 3 holes, and then went inside and in the bar area, and we hung out there for a little bit. Saturday was pretty uneventful, but he walked on Sunday at Whistling Straits, and you could just feel the bond that and the love that John had just to be there and experience that with his son, was incredible. We went out to dinner with him Friday night after the Skins game, and it was Jen and me and John and Thomas, and we went to this Italian place, and obviously John did all the ordering. I don't know how he knew the place, but he knew the place. He did all the ordering. It was up there. Pretty much everything is local and fresh, and so he was speaking with the chef and did everything. And that experience right there, just getting to know John and talk with him and his son there was one of my favorite memories of him.
Yeah, he another memory from John is as a trumpet player and as a musician. I think one of his grandchildren were in band, but John really loved music and loved jazz. And like I said, as a musician myself, he would burn me CDs of these things that he was listening to, and he always, this is amazing, and we talked about music and stuff like that. And I don't know if many people knew that, but he really had a deep love of music and jazz, and apparently he could dance too, but I never saw him do that. That might have been a good thing.
He made Jen CDs and send CDs to Jen like once a week.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was doing it for other people too. I thought he was just hitting on my wife.
I got stuff I still listen to in the truck.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. We were at, and Chris, you've done this before. You stayed in the house with other tour directors, right? And 1 year I was staying in the house with them. It was a bunch of us in there. Bruce had already passed at this stage, so it was me, John, Dan was there, and there were two other people there. And I get home late at night, and John's sitting on the couch. And he hadn't started calling me skinny at that point yet. He said, he said, kid, I need you to fix the shower for me. There's no water coming out of the shower. I said, what do you mean there's no water coming out of the shower? And in these houses, what some people don't understand, these houses are phenomenal. And the shower that John was in was one that had shower heads on both sides, a high one on each side and a low on each side. And John couldn't figure out how to turn the water on. So I go in, I turn the water on. I mean, it's one where you just pull the thing out. That's all you have to do is just pull. And I said, John, it's working fine. I said, just pull it out. And he said, okay. He goes in 10 minutes later, says, Tim, I can't get the shower to turn on. What are you doing? And I said, John, it's pull the little knob out. That's all you have to do. And he's pulling out the wrong side. He's standing at the wrong on the wrong side of the wall, pulling the thing out. It's not working because he didn't hit the switch. He didn't think about turning around and pulling out the other. I'm like, come on, John. I mean, it's not so hard. It's a shower head. I mean, it's a plumbing. It's things like that just were the way he approached things and the way he dealt with them was just all John, but funny as hell. Just funny as hell.
Yeah. He definitely had a knack of telling you his way or figure it out kind of deal.
Exactly.
Especially with some of the players, frustrating things that happen during tour events, and he's like John, just get over it or get out kind of thing. Sometimes, he was usually in the right, but sometimes he said it in a different way. But
yeah.
That was just who it was.
Yeah, with the New York accent, and you say abrasive, and I get it because I'm from up that way too, and it's just his way. It's just the way that it comes off. That's just who he was. I mean, it no nonsense. Just tell you how it is, and move on. And he would tell you and get that smirk on his face. You know that smirk. Okay, Chris, how well did you know John?
Not as well as both of you, that's for sure. But I think once he stopped being director is when I was slowly making my way in. So I met him a couple times, but not stories that you all have, unfortunately. But I do love jazz music, so that'd have been awesome to have somebody to talk to you about.
Yeah.
That's the. I've been thinking about this, just over the last couple of days with John. If we look back and I haven't been with the tour as long as actually Lyle, I think, has been with the tour the longest at this stage. Before that, it was Tom Myris who just stepped down, and before that it was John, and so forth. And as we've grown and gotten a little bit older, some of the things that happened. Jared, you joined the tour in 2011. Things are very different now, and from the tour director perspective, things were very different. We were smaller, and the tour directors were, I wouldn't say, maybe we were a little bit more close-knit, but maybe because there wasn't so many of us, there was a lot more interaction there, which allowed us to get to know people like Bruce. Chris, I don't know if you ever met Bruce. You put it this way, you put Bruce and Livoti in the same room, you're not only will you not have to say a word, your stomach is gonna hurt from laughing so hard. And I mean, just I remember one time at National Championship. This is a different house, and I don't know, I can't remember what was going on, but something was going on in baseball, and the talk turned to handicaps in golf, and I don't know how that switch happened either.
Okay.
But Livoti and Bruce were going at each other. I mean, about handicaps, and neither one of them were right. They were both wrong. And Dennis walks in, and so remember now, this is like 11 o'clock at night on, let's just say, a Friday or Saturday night at National Championship. And everybody knows 11 o'clock at night on National Championship, whether it's Friday, Saturday, whatever night, we've all had, a couple of beverages. And Dennis walks in. He hears this. He tells them both to shut the fuck up. Excuse me. It's probably not for good. And he turns and leaves. And both Livoti and Bruce started, cussed Dennis. And then 10 seconds later, they both start going back at each other, talking about handicaps. So without really skipping a beat. I mean, it was fun times. Just put it that way.
Yeah, he was always a fun guy to be around, and again, just a great person. I don't know if people know this or not, but he worked with the local prison system, and it always seemed to be a different story. But he would go into the prisons, and for the people who were coming back into society, and he'd sit there and talk to them. I think he did that maybe once a week. He was very involved with that for a while. But he was just trying to give back to the community, and in the way that he thought he could.
Yeah, Jared, thank you for saying that, because I forgot about that. But yeah, he did that. He did that for a long time. And just trying to help those guys to reacclimate and give them some advice. The short Italian from New York, it's but that's how much he cared about people. John was somebody who truly cared about other people, and you could feel that just from any interaction you had with him.
Absolutely.
So, well, Jared, thanks so much for taking some time and sharing some of your memories with him. We're going to miss him. I know he's been gone from the tour for a couple of years, but
he's still been around. He's still been in my ear. He's still trying to tell me what to do.
Yeah, that'll go on for a while. That will definitely go on for a while. All right, my friend. You guys got anything good coming up in Columbia?
Yeah, toured. We start our first event on the first of the month, I think, and I'm looking at a couple more courses, but we got our schedule pretty much filled out. hope to see everyone back. We got some new membership. We got some players returning that haven't been with us in a couple of years, so that's good to see. And hoping to have another successful year and keep on growing.
Yeah, I'm disappointed we couldn't get Savannah Lakes back on this year. It was a scheduling issue. They didn't have the date that we had used last year was taken, and we only had a couple other open dates, and those were taken as well. So hopefully next year we can get that back on the schedule, because I thought that event could turn into something pretty good. So
yeah, and I do want to say one thing. So real quick, I played my first regional events last year. I've been on the tour for so long, but never have gone and played regional. But I played 3 regionals last year. And for anybody watching, if you've not played a regional, go play a regional. If the one's close to you or you have to travel, they are outstanding. They are extremely well done. I played the Fripp one last year in Hilton Head. I played where else would we go? Oh, Sequoia. Sequoia is a fantastic golf course up in the Smoky Mountains if you can get out there. And then we actually traveled out to Indiana and played French Lick, and that was just an awesome time. All three events were fantastic. So anybody watching, if you've not played a regional, I highly recommend it. It is a great experience.
That's a good point. I remember seeing you out I remember seeing you at Fripp and up at in Indiana.
French Lick?
French Lick, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Saw you there.
Yeah. And again, but you said it all. I don't even have to add anything, but thanks for doing that. And again, thanks for taking some time with us today, and I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have a great day.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's take a break from the show to hear about Strixon's ZX Mark II irons.
A great iron set needs more than good looks. It's got to be fast and gotta be pure. But good looks never hurt either. The all-new ZX Mark II irons from Strixon.
Tim, like you said before, our previous guest, it's going to be a little somber moments in this episode, but I think the stories are cool. And, I wish I knew that he liked jazz as much, because I'm a huge jazz guy growing up, played saxophone, jazz bands, you name it. So that'd have been cool to have somebody to be able to talk to within the tour about that.
Yeah, I knew he was into music and those types of things, because, like I said, he's been sending Jen CDs, probably for 2 or 3 years. Once a week, maybe once a month, whatever, and all different types of music and things. We're not even going to talk about some of the not safe for.
I mean, but you're dating it by saying he would send CDs.
Yeah. Well, so, as Jen was heading to the funeral yesterday, she said, "Do we have a CD player in the car?" And I looked at her and I said, "Honey, we haven't had a CD player in the car since we got rid of the Pathfinder. And that was like 3 years ago." So yeah, John, I'm telling you, was a character, and I mean, I'm going to miss him. We communicated on a regular basis. He wasn't doing well, but we thought that he was coming to the other side of things, and to hear what happened, it's sad, but we've got the good memories.
Right, and that's what the tour is all about, is building not just those golf friends, but like they become family all across the country. And that really kind of, and I said at the top of the show that this is, strap in, because we've got some good ones today, and we're going to go from one Jared to the other. I am Jared
so
squared.
inspired. Yeah. Stop it. Let me introduce the kid. I'm really inspired by our next guest. When Shane from the Tampa Tour sent me his information, I looked at it and I said, we've got to have him on. And his name is Jared Stancil. He's been on the tour. This is his second year. Let's just go ahead and bring him in and introduce him. Jared, welcome to the show, bud.
Meet you.
I'm really impressed with the things that you've been doing. Let's start. How long have you been playing golf?
14 years.
14 years.
Longer than me.
Hey, Chris, you better watch. He's going to be able to beat you here in a little bit.
All right. All right. We'll save that till the end.
So Jared, tell us a little bit about your time with the Special Olympics and the medals that you won there.
That's a good question. I would say being part of Special Olympics is showing other people how to compete and how to be a better person, play golf, and we can show the world. We can try to they can try to learn experience, and they can put their self and have faith in themselves.
Yeah.
I won like 14, 8 gold medals.
How many gold medals?
8.
8? Oh my goodness, Jared, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The whole idea of, and I'm glad you said that, the whole idea of Special Olympics, maybe what a lot of people don't know, it's, there's that competition. It's a lot like the tour, right, Chris? The competition is important, but it's not just about the competition. It's about, going out there and trying your best and giving it everything that you've got, and the relationships that you're building and the skills that you're building and all those other things combined.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I have a coworker who won silver at this last Special Olympics in France, and he brought that thing to the store. Man, those are some nice medals.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So what is it that you like about the game of golf?
The reason why I'm going to bring this up, I love the name golf because it's kind of like my future, and I want to be a part of the golf family, and I really want to have experience inside myself. I can go out there and be competitive, and I just want to focus and just keep on doing my best and never give up and just persevere.
Yeah, and that's part of it. So I'm sure you're better than I am right now, and you're almost better than Chris. But how do you handle adversity on the course? I know this wasn't something that we talked about before, but how do you handle adversity when you hit a bad shot or you miss a putt or things like that? Because that's part of this as well, right?
Yeah. Whenever you hit a bad shot, which he says, pick me up and move on and move on.
I tell you what,
Everyone needs to learn that.
exactly. Yeah. Just put it aside, Chris.
There it is.
This is from Seattle. And this one is from Orlando, my hometown. So we went back to back, and we were jamming. We were out there doing our best, and like you said, just be you. It's just have confidence. But what I did back then was magnificent. It was kind of encouraging to inspire everyone in the name of Florida.
Absolutely. So what's the best part of your game right now?
I would say my driving.
Why do you say that?
Because I really want to have confidence in my driving, because I really want to develop my skills and hit it straight, and I can get more power, get more strength, and I can hit the ball and just go out there and just have a good time.
There again, hit the ball straight and have a good time. It's very easy to have a good time when you're hitting the ball straight, isn't it, Chris?
Yes, it's very easy when you're hitting it straight and hitting on the greens. That's for sure.
Oh man. And what part of your game are you working on right now to try and get better at?
I want to work on my out and outputs and my iron shots because I really want to, like I said before, I just want to, like, when I hit, I just want to consider the ball and I can take some deep breaths and take my time and don't rush through it. Just go out there, just be you, just be the part of the game you love. Just I'm not going to quit the game I love.
Very, very, very good. There's from my perspective, there's no quitting in golf.
No.
Because there's always another hole to play. There's always another round to play. And at least, here on the tour, there are so many different people that you can play with. Is there anybody on the tour that you hear that you really enjoy playing with?
I would say to that, I would say playing with Howard.
Howard?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a nice dude.
All right. What what flight's he in? You're in the C flight now, right?
Yes.
And what flight's Howard in?
C
flight. So, I mean, does he know that he's now been highlighted on the podcast? We can let him know that, or so we can get this out to him.
Oh, he was a really nice guy.
He was.
Awesome. Okay.
Did you beat him?
Yes, I beat him.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You got your first win on tour this past week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shot at 84. Let's go ahead and show everybody the picture here of that.
That's a solid score for sea flight.
It is. So he shot an 82 last year, didn't you? I think you shot an 82 at a tournament last year in the sea flight. Yeah, at Plantation Palms last year in June, you shot 82. And here's the thing, Chris. You shot 82 and finished in 8th place.
Well, I think that score, though, Tim, was a little bit off because I think it was rain delay. There was a storm. Tampa down here, we get summer storms. I think that was only for 16 holes.
Okay. Well.
I mean, that's still not bad.
I mean, 82 is like 7 holes for me. I mean, so.
Jared, let me ask you this: with that trophy, have you used it as a glass to drink out of?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I don't drink, but if I don't drink beer or wine, I don't do that.
But you could do.
Yeah, I'm not a drinker.
But you could do soda in there. You could do water. I mean, I don't drink either.
Right.
And I mean, we used it for a couple of
occasions.
Yeah. Just to show off when Arizona guys are around, things like that.
Yeah, like my mom, for example, too.
Hey, you got to tell the guys what when they announced that he won over the weekend, you got to tell them what the most important thing you told Shane was. What are you going to do with the winning?
I said I would save it for my honeymoon.
Oh, whoa. Do you have a girl lined up already?
Yeah, because I have a girlfriend I've been dating for 6 months now.
There you go.
And I think my relationship with her is doing awesome. And I think she's the one for me. I just want to put it in the universe. So I just love, she's inspired by people. She is kind, supportive, and I just want to keep on loving. Listen, that's the most important part.
Well, and I'm glad you say that because, Chris and I talk a lot about our wives and how we can't do what we do without them and their support. And it's always good to have somebody in your corner like that. Because we can't do everything by ourselves. And, the support that comes from our family and the people that we love, it's also good to be able to celebrate these high points with them as well. Now, let me just give you a little piece of advice. I don't know if your mom's listening. So, when you have winnings like this, I'm not saying that you don't tell the truth to people, but make sure that you keep some of that, some of that cash in your side pocket, for ever in case you just you need some extra skin money.
Right. Or have passion.
Your passion, absolutely. Absolutely. See? That's awesome. So you won the playoff. Tell us about the playoff and kind of how you felt going into that.
Oh my! The playoff was awesome. I was nervous at first. Then I didn't know I was gonna win. But I will say this: but like I did out there, I put myself in a good place to win. Then wherever I took my part in, I was kind of emotional at first. I just wanna be a part of the action because that's what tells me is I just wanna be a part of like the golf and be more competitive. I just wanna around the universe because I just love playing golf because winning this playoff, I will say, is like scale on 10. I'm going to give a 10 on this one because what I did was magnificent. I didn't give up and I did my best. And that's what matters.
You're absolutely right. Whether you win or lose, you go out there and you do your best, and it's always good to win, but winning in a playoff is also a little bit special too because it's kind of like match play. It's do or die, and it's just you against maybe one or two other people at that point. Chris,
I agree.
Yeah, no, I've been in many playoffs in my golf week career, and I remember my first one. It was nerve-wracking, but once you get that first victory in a playoff, it's a lot of weight off your shoulders because
I agree with you on that one because when I see professionals on TV if they're in the playoff, they just tap it in, they excited, they talk about it, they just spread and be in the moment, just be the nicest golfer you can be. And that's what the world wants. What the world wants is we have to show ourselves what we can do.
Absolutely.
Having dancing too.
Now, I'll tell you, my most nerve-wracking playoff was at Nationals for the Directors' Cup. Having 30 directors watching the green to see what's going to happen and cheering. And, when you 3-putt to win, it's always great, but it's embarrassing when it's in front of everybody else.
Right.
I thought you were going to say it was most nerve-wracking because I was telling you to hurry up.
That too. I mean, you were pressuring me. We had to get the podcast. I was just like, let's get this over with. But that's one that I'll remember because when you have people watching, and that's great being a director because we get to pick the hole that they go do playoffs, and usually it's 18, so they have to come back to the clubhouse. Yeah. And guys go and watch, and it's a good time.
Or go on the range and practice. Whoever wins or whoever they lose, they have to be good sportsmanship, then show gratitude and have growth.
I think that's one thing about golf. The majority of people, especially on the tour, sportsmanship's not really an issue because I mean we're all cheering each other on. We all want each other to do well. It's not a it's not a cutthroat. I want you to do bad. Everybody wants everybody to play well, and everybody's very, very encouraging.
I agree. Because having courage to put yourself out there and be a good citizen and adapt and overcome and be the best person or golfer you can be. Just having dancing is hard because like this win I had was kind of inspiring to people. That's what I would say to this. Because deep down inside, they just always want to be a big part of the Golfweek family.
Yeah, and you are, and when Shane sent your information to me, this was before you even got that win, and so that should tell you something that Shane really appreciates you being a part of the tour and loves having you, and I'm sure the rest of the guys feel the same way.
Yeah, I agree. Just I just can't imagine this, because I can't believe we have a God who makes people, and we just want to have life and have a good attitude and have like the best sense of humor and be a good example for everyone, and they know who actually they are.
Well, and hey, the other thing too, guys, I'll add is the guys out there on the tour have been very welcoming to Jared, and like you said, everybody's kind of rooting him on, and it's been a great thing for Jared to participate in. We were looking for some competitiveness, to keep him fresh in tournaments. He's playing some high school golf, but that's only in the fall. So the guys out there have been great with him.
That's really, really good to hear. And Chad, I would be really upset if it was if you had said the opposite of that. I mean, there's Chris and I talk a lot about how inclusive golf is, and how we need to make sure that we are including everybody that goes from having females and kids and anybody who wants to play is welcome here, and we've got a spot for everybody. And it's the one or two times that I've had to say something to people about you need to cut it out and leave some people alone. It's what once they realize what they're doing, they feel bad about it, and it's that's just not who we are as a tour.
Right. And another thing that happened over the weekend when a gentleman, and his name's Darren, I don't know his last name, but he came up to Jared after the round, and he was just, you could tell he was inspired by Jared, because he said, I worked in special education for 25 years, and he ended up giving Jared a hat, and he's like, my wife worked with special ed kids for like 39 years. So, it's those moments that you see when Jared touches people, and I don't even think he realizes it, but it's just special when that happens.
It really is. And again, that's so good to hear. And it's hard to explain to people about what the tour is until they've experienced it like that. Because you talk to people and they think it's one thing, and then you cut, and that's why I think if you can get people to come to one tournament, they're going to come back, because they see how the tour is, they see how the tour is run, they see how people are accepted, and we've got people from all walks of life on tour. From a few years ago, we had a 12-year-old win the national championship. We've had females win the national championship. We've had people qualify for U.S. Senior Opens and USGA events, and now Jared with his win and winning gold medals for Special Olympics. I mean, that shows that to me that the tour is. It's what makes the tour what it is.
Completely agree.
So, Jared, one more question before we let you go. What's your favorite course to play on?
I got two favorite courses. I would say River and Golf Mates, and the second one is Sarah from a play for PGA Journey.
Okay.
Those are two of my favorite courses.
Are they both in Florida?
Yeah, they are.
When's your next tournament?
I would say River runs better because I want to be with my dad, because he is fired toward me, because I want to keep on loving my game. Just want to keep on showing the course how it's meant to play and be one thankful person on earth. 'Cause I will say this, just having Down syndrome is hard because I love playing golf because my relation with golf, I just want to take it easy and be a part of it because I would run, I'm like a family to them because they know what they want from me and they take care of me. And I didn't want to be with my dad because he is nice father and husband and good caddy and golfer. And I just want to keep on doing it. And once I said I want to be a part of the community and have live experience and have life skills.
But Jared, we love having you part of our community, part of the Golf Week family. And Chris, I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up.
For sure, I completely agree. If we make it out to Florida, I'm gonna have to meet you, person to person, because it's very inspiring to talk to you today.
Jared, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I love your story, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's take a break from the show to hear about Srixon's ZX Mark II drivers.
ZX Mark II drivers are for major players, major winners, major power. All new ZX Mark II drivers, only from Srixon.
Tim, having a conversation with Jared, I know it's been in the works for a while, but to actually see the news report that you sent me and talk to him, it's inspirational, honestly. And it's just, like you said, it's crazy how people with special needs, how much love they have for other people and the situation they're in. If everybody in the world could just take 10%, like you said, I mean, it would be so much easier. And I'd like to play around the golf with him. That'd be fun.
How about that? It's so inspirational to see somebody like that. To see somebody with the mental handicap that he has, to have his priorities the way that they are, to be happy and smiling. By the way, it cracked me up what he said he was going to do with his winnings. I swear,
Right.
I thought he said he was going to give it to his dad. I thought that was going to come out of his mouth. He shocked me with that. But good for him. Good for him. So hopefully that he learns to take a couple shekels and put it in the right pocket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's very inspirational. So happy for him. And in between the time that we did the interview with him, Shane sent me a text. Okay, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it has to do with Dr. Howard, the guy that he beat in the playoff. And Shane said he didn't know anything about the hat, but he said that Howard says all he has left is his Wilson Staff hat, but he wants to play with Jared again. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about for forever. And I think that he is the epitome of what we're looking for in a tour member, somebody who loves golf, loves the tour, loves people, is encouraging other people, wants to get better, wants to have a good time, wants the competition, is happy to be out there, all those things.
Win or lose.
I mean, he didn't understand what I was talking about when he hits a bad shot, about getting upset.
Right.
So I'm the guy putting negative thoughts in his head.
He's just like, it is what it is. Move on to the next hole. Let's go. Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm so happy for him. So proud of him. And Shane, this is for you, because I do know that you listen. Thank you so much for sending that to our attention, because again, those are the types of things that we really do like to highlight. And Chris, that kind of leads us into the competition, the contest.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've been brewing on it for a while, and I'm excited to get this announced because it's going to be fun this year.
Me too. And God's honest truth, we've been working on this for a little over 2 months, and it just so happens that we got this conversation with Jared. So we didn't plan it like this, right? Did not plan it like this, but this is, we've been working on it and trying to make sure that we get it right. And so here's the deal.
Well, first off, let's put it this way: the shirts last year were great to see.
It was.
They were great to see, and you and me learned a lot with having our first contest.
Yes,
a lot. So understand, as we wanted to do part 2 of the contest. We took a lot of the ups and downs of feedback that we got from everybody, especially at national championship. And I think we landed on a solid idea this year.
And it kind of goes along with what we just talked about. What are we looking for in our tour members, right? So here it is. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be a game changer for the tour as we start to really think about our members and what we value, because we talk about this a lot, but how often do we actually highlight some of these things? We do. I think local tour directors do a really good job of highlighting it locally.
Correct.
So tour directors, I think we do a great job of highlighting it locally. I think we need to take another step.
I agree.
And so here it is. So we're going to have a contest to be the national member of the month, and we will have a national member of the year. So with 6,000 members, let's think about how we can go about doing that. And this is going to be the process. So each tour director, you have to submit at least one member as a nomination for the National Member of the Month contest during the year. So this is what that means. You don't have to submit somebody every month, but you have to submit at least one person between now and August. Okay.
And that's 50 plus tours. So it's going to be good competition, but at the same time, these are the people that we want to highlight because they are what we've been talking about as what the tour is.
And so here's the criteria, and this is just somewhat of a list. So you're gonna submit the name, and you're gonna tell, give the idea why this person is should be member of the month or member of the year, right? It's really simple. A member who actively embodies what the tour is about. For example, are they recruiting new players? Are they playing in tournaments and encouraging others if they're not playing well? Do other members request to play with them? Do they volunteer to help if they need help? Do they travel to other local tours or regionals? Are they encouraging other people to travel, playing regionals, nationals, etc.? Are they posting positive information on social media? Are they listening to our podcast? Yeah, shameless plug. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they listening to the podcast?
I mean, we're doing the contest. Why not?
So those are the things that you should be looking for and that we're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. It's everything that as we're setting up for tournaments or tearing down or things like that. It's those members that offer. Hey, do you need help with the flags? Or, hey, you did a great job. I'm bringing 3 guys next week. Or, hey, I've talked to my 10 friends that play every Wednesday at 2 p.m. It's those guys that we want to highlight. Not saying that they're better than everybody else, but we want to give them the recognition that they probably don't think they deserve, but they should have.
Right. and I think about this, and let's just take Livoti as a for example. When we made the switch to go to electronic scoring and doing some of those other things, he had a tour member step up and help him create the newsletters, help him run the live scoring, and we're obviously that electronic stuff wasn't John's thing, but without a tour member stepping up and doing that, you think about where Columbia would be from that perspective. So those are the types of things that we're looking for.
Right.
Now, some limitations. This is where we got caught up last year, right? We didn't really think some of the limitations through. All right. Limitations for nomination would be that it's not open for any tour director and official assistant spouse on the contract, or any person or member that helps the tour director in exchange for some type of compensation, money, free entry into events, etc. Right? So it's one of the reasons for that is because we want people to truly be doing this for the good of the tour, not that helping for compensation isn't for the good of the tour, but we want to make sure that it's what I'm looking for.
Just heartfelt.
Yeah, heartfelt and member generated. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay. So what you'll do, tour directors, and we're going to get all this information out to tour directors and get it posted for the, for the members so that they see what's going on. Basically, what will happen is the tour directors will send us their nominations no later than the 5th of the next month. So by March 5th, we'll have the first nominations come through. And Chris, I think I may make, maybe we should talk about this before I say it. May make an executive decision. We'll talk about it offline. We'll talk about it offline before we do that, okay? Because I don't want to cause too much ruckus on announcement day. Yeah. But so the first nominations will be due to us by by March 5th. You and I will collect them, we'll collate them, we'll keep track of who's submitting them. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the names off of nominations. And we're going to pass them off to Dennis. And Dennis is going to look at it, and Dennis is going to choose.
Uh-huh.
Blind.
No information, no knowledge of it.
Once Dennis picks the monthly winner, we'll make arrangements to bring that person on an episode of the podcast, congratulate them, give them some recognition, and go on from there. All right. So we will have 8 winners like we did last year. Okay. This is why I'm talking about the executive decision here. So we'll have one for each month, January to August. All right. And I think we're still talking about how we're going to choose the final 8. I still maybe want to do the poll, but maybe do some restrictions on that. But let's talk about how we're going to do that a little bit later. And do this with the winner, the national member of the year gets free entry into national championship.
I agree. It's gonna be. It brings everybody into the competition because we're asking all tour directors to submit at least one person. I know there's at least one person in your tour that you could nominate.
And you can nominate somebody each month.
Right, you're not limited to one. There's no limit of how many, but at least one, because we want to recognize all the tours out there.
So, start thinking about it. Tour members, it's February now, and so tours are starting to pick up with tournaments. We just finished.
I've already gone through 2 of them.
Yeah, we'll get back to you
Don't you get mad at me.
No, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm happy for you. But we don't have time to really get into it today. That's what it is.
Pause. You're right. We have a busy show this episode, but maybe next time we come back, maybe I'll have my first win in A flight.
Maybe. I hope so. But you know, we just had the senior icebreaker this past weekend, and we're off to the races, man.
Yeah, we are.
It's really gonna start picking up and get going. So it was good seeing you. I'm sorry I missed you, but again, you know, you and Gabe did a really good job. I
appreciate it. And I would say I'll tell him that, but he better be listening so he can hear it himself. And if he doesn't hear it, that's on him.
That's on him. Well, you know, as I was editing, I was being real nitpicky. I said, well, he should have said this here. Should have said that there. That's not true. But seriously, you guys did a really good job. Roger, phenomenal job. I don't know if did you see the text I sent? I don't know if I sent it to you. It had to have been a spoof. The guy was carrying a tape measure in his bag, hit the ball.
No, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I kind of laughed. Roger didn't reply. He made him.
I mean, the guy's thinking. He's thinking out of the box there.
Yeah.
Can't blame him on that.
But yeah. Well, anyway, my friend, let's go ahead and wrap this up and roll into some thoughts from tour directors on our good friend John Livoti. Chris, you know this segment here, we're just gonna hopefully talk to some tour directors from around the country, giving tribute to John Livoti, the former Columbia tour director. Like we talked with Jared Beard, we had two Jareds on this episode. But as you know, we talked to Jared Beard earlier, in the first segment. Everywhere John went, he made friends. And it's like and again, since we're still recording here, I still can't give all of the stories that I know and some of the things he would say. But he was a funny man.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it just from hearing, being the outside party of the stories that you and Jerry were talking about. But I mean, that's, would you agree or not? That's 99% of the members on the tour, though. That can crack a joke and not take it serious and have a good time. I mean, at least from my experience meeting people, and yeah, I think when he was starting to make his way out, I was a new director, so not as outgoing as I am now, on the podcast and everything. So, I've probably seen him around, but it's one of those that you just hate to lose somebody, especially somebody in the little circle of tour directors that there is, because at some point, within their tenure as tour director, they've met you in one way or another, whether it's through an email or director's meeting or you name it now.
And just as we're getting going on this, my grandchildren just tried to FaceTime me, so I gotta tell them I'm busy. Don't get over it.
It's like clockwork with them, isn't it?
It is.
So what are you doing? What are you doing interviews when it's time for grandchildren FaceTime?
I know. But she sent me a video. My 4-year-old granddaughter went to the refrigerator, got the milk jug out, started drinking from the milk jug. Was like, I'm drinking from this cup because I'm allowed to, and then put it. It's funny. She didn't learn that from me.
That's impressive that she can hold up a gallon of milk and not spill it.
Well, it was almost empty, but you know how it is.
That reminds me of my little one who took the whole loaf of bread and started running away while eating pieces out of it.
Very nice. Very, very nice. So, well, let me read what Dennis wrote about John. John, the Italian Stallion Tour Director, forget about it, was one of a few favorite sayings he always used, but nothing could be further from the truth. John was a very caring and giving man who did so much for both of his tours in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. He taught some of my best tour directors the ropes and made all our players feel special for that day on the golf course. He will be truly missed, as will his infectious smile. I'm fortunate to have known him and can call him a true friend. Rest in peace, John. And that's from Dennis.
Some big words. The Italian Stallion.
Yeah. Oh, John. I mean, he like I said earlier, he called everybody kid, and you knew you made it if he had a nickname for you. I was Skinny. That's what he called me, Skinny. I know.
I'm never living that one down for you.
See, it is what it is. We laughed about it.
Yeah, I laughed about it too when I heard it.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So, Jen said that there was one from Ed Early too, but I don't see that one. So, hopefully she'll send that. And one of the first times I met John was at National Championship back when it was were you still coming when we did the first day over at looks like we got somebody in, maybe they got
The where?
over at Palmetto Hall, not Palmetto Hall, over where Barony. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember this? We did the Skins game and the first round over, scoring over at Port Royal Plantation. Yeah, so the tour director's dinner used to be on Thursday after the Skins game. And so my first year as tour director, I was there at the Skins game, played in the Skins game, and from there we went over to the house was on it was in Palmetto Dunes, the huge house, and I needed a ride over, and I took the ride over with John. That was the first time I met him.
Nice.
This was about 16 years ago. And I was thinking that, I probably shouldn't have gotten in the car with him. This was 16 years ago.
No, it was safer then.
So that was fun.
No, I don't remember that. I started when they were having it at their house, the directors meeting. And then we moved it.
Well, when it was over at those first few years, there weren't a whole lot of tour directors. Well, there was a lot, but not nearly as many as there are now. And it was in a big house. The house was freaking huge. It had an elevator in it. It had
Elevator.
it had like a theater seating. It was real. I mean, probably one of the nicest things, not nice houses I've seen, but but obviously we outgrew it.
I can believe that.
Here she is. There we go. There we go.
All right.
How are you?
I'm fine.
So what do you got?
All right. So the first thing that I'll say is I went to the service, and as soon as I opened up the door to go in, I literally laughed out loud because I opened up the door to go to the funeral service, and all you heard were people laughing. It was filled, the room was filled with, I don't know, probably a couple hundred people all standing around talking, joking around, and kind of sharing stories about Livoti. So I thought it was very fitting. What I wanted to say is, and there's so much to say, but I thought I'd share. If you take a look here, I've got all of these. I mean, I've got all these CDs. I've got 3, 4 more that Livoti made for me. He said, hey, kid, you're in the car a lot. Do you ever listen to music? And I said, yeah, I'm in the car driving all the time. I listen. He's like, what do you like to listen to? I said, I don't know. It just kind of depends. If you didn't know this, John was a huge music fan, and he loved jazz. And so we started talking about jazz, and then he would talk about other music. And each one of these CDs has a personal list typed up of what's on it. He would give me little stickies to go with it. I got a typed up letter, for the first one. Says, Jen, here are a couple of CDs for you. I was trying to get the big band guys. Then I found out I don't have 2 of them. Benny Goodman's CD I know I had. His band was the first jazz group to play Carnegie Hall, and it was in 1938. So John would always tell you stories. He'd give you all sorts of information, so he's going on and on. And then he says to me, anybody who knows John knows that he would say things that weren't always appropriate. He didn't mean anything by it. Never meant anything by it. So he would call me his Jew girl because I'm Jewish. And so in this letter, I kid you not, this is what it says. Other guy was Artie Shaw. What I realized was that all of them were Jewish. So I figured I would put together an all Jewish CD for you. So he sends that to me. And then, we're talking, and he even threw in one of my all-time favorites. He knew I liked, I'm a huge Zac Brown fan. So he sent me a Zac Brown song mixed in. One of his sons at the funeral said that, he always had this love of music. And so what would happen is he'd say to his kids and his grandkids, I discovered a new musician. And they'd laugh and say, who'd you discover, Dad? And he'd say, have you ever heard of Eric Clapton? And they'd all laugh. So I'm looking over my list, and I have in the music that he sent me, I've got Adele, I've got Van Morrison, I've got Eric Clapton, I've got the big jazz bands, I've got Michael Bublé, I've got anything you can think of, truly all in these CDs that he made for me. So he was just such a special man, such a place in my heart. And for those of you who would see him on the golf course and you'd always see him in a different hat, it hit me at the end of the service as his 10 grandchildren were walking out. Almost every one of them was either wearing or carrying one of his hats.
That's cool.
It was. Very special man.
What's your favorite memory of John? I mean, I know you've got a ton of them, but when you came down, I think it was in 2018 or 2019. That's when you really started interacting with him, and I know I would tell you about my interactions with he and Phil and how close they were and some of the funny things that they would do, but you really didn't start interacting with him a lot until 2018, 2019. So what are some of your favorite memories of him?
Well, for me, it was when we'd sit down at national championships, and people don't realize all the after hours work that we do. And I was like, one of my favorites was we were in one of the houses that Dennis got, where tour directors who were helping were staying. And so I'm in there, and it was the year that we sold shirts and stuff at the national championship. So we had to inventory them. And Livoti was helping me because he had a background in sales, and he knew so much about everything. And it was late at night, and we were just sitting and talking. So he told me about his family growing up in New York. He was really smart. He skipped a grade, if I'm not mistaken, in school, and was in like the gifted and talented classes. And so he would tell me stories, and of course would say how he had lots of Jewish friends because they were in that class because they were all smart. And so it was really just sitting and talking. We talked about history, talked about life, talked about what it was like growing up, about how important family was, you know, telling stories about his kids, talking just about his experiences. Over the years, he would come to me with ideas about the tour, and he would say, Dennis is a pretty smart guy. He created this whole thing. He said, maybe he should think about this. And he would kind of throw something out there. You'd have to look at him and say, that's a really good idea, and would share it. So it was those kinds of conversations. It's that, we'd go to a tournament, and he'd talk to people, and he had a guy for everything. He'd start talking. He'd say, I got a guy for that. And he'd say, let me introduce you to so-and-so. And it was just his just being around him. And then I would always laugh because he would forward me all these emails. And at first I thought it was junk, like, because it would be like the chain letters or, something like that you'd get. But he started to really send me information. Like, he would do research on topics that he thought I would be interested in and send it to me. So when I heard that he died, I went and I looked, and the last email that I had was from in December, and I pulled it up, and he said, this is awesome. And he sent me a whole magic thing. It was a show with Penn and Teller, and I don't remember who else. And it was a magician and doing card tricks. So I have a treasure chest of emails from Livoti with little comments like, oh, you got to read this. Can't believe, what are they doing? Political stuff. This is crazy, whatever it is. But he had sent me all kinds of things just because he thought I'd be interested in it, because it was something we had in common, because he cared. And that's just who John was.
So it was. Yeah, Jen, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but the first year that I went to the Masters, Dennis was lucky enough for a time to be able to get tickets, and he would get them out. And so I got tickets. Actually, I think I got tickets the last year that he was able to get them. And me and my friend, we stayed in a hotel in Orangeburg on Wednesday. We were going on Thursday, for the first round. And so Wednesday, I'm in the hotel, and I'm in the fitness center. Yeah, Chris, I used to work out. All right. And I was doing
right, skinny.
Exactly. I was doing the Stairmaster, and I'm listening to Sirius XM, Golf Channel Radio, whatever it was called. And I hear John's voice. John had called in to the and is talking on to the announcers on Golf Channel Radio or whatever, talking about something golf related, and he was criticizing something that the announcer had said and was wrong about. and John was correcting him, and then they got into talking. John was probably on there, probably 10 or 15 minutes, so way longer than any normal caller would be. And he called in to correct him on something, and then they just got into a typical John conversation.
No, you didn't tell me that. That's the first time I've heard that story. And I learned yesterday that they actually have a name. Did you talk about this yet, Tim?
No, we did not.
Okay. So I learned yesterday that there's actually a name for what John would do in talking to people. His family called it the John D treatment. They said he would talk to somebody, he would find out everything about them, where they were from, what they liked, what they didn't like, where they grew up, how many, John would talk to somebody and he'd know how many times they've been married, favorite color, like everything about them. And that his kids and family called it the John D treatment. So that's what would happen. That to me is part of just, those are my fond memories. Just because he talked to you, just being with him and knowing that when you were talking to him, you knew he was honest, you knew he was sincere, you knew exactly what he thought and how he felt. You knew that he was hanging on every word that you said, and he took it to heart, and he would remember it, and as just who he was.
Yeah, we got an email from another tour director, Ed Early. I'm just going to read what he wrote, and then we'll get back to you in just a second here. This is from Ed Early of the Kentucky Amateur Tour. To the family and friends of John Livoti, I never had the honor of meeting or spending time with John. On behalf of the Kentucky Golfweek Tour and myself, I'd like to express my sincere condolences and offer up prayers for strength and comfort during your time of loss. May God bless you all. Thanks, Ed. I know John's family is going to be listening to this, and that's going to mean a lot to them. So thank you for saying that. But Jen, you're absolutely right. I mean, anytime John talked to you, it didn't really matter. I mean, you knew he was listening, and you knew he was invested in the conversation. Whether you all were whether you were cutting up, whether it was a serious conversation, which I don't know that I ever had a serious conversation with John that lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes. Because it always, devolved into us having a good time. But you knew he was listening. You knew he had your best interests at heart, and wanted the best for you.
Yeah. His son Thomas shared in his eulogy about their experience at Whistling Straits, and he said that even some of his family members didn't understand the role that the Golfweek Amateur Tour played in his life, or really how, not that they didn't understand the role, they didn't understand how much of an impact John had on the players and how big of a deal the tour is, and I just think about any tournament where he was, or that people were at that he was running, they knew who he was. He would always say or do something that would make them laugh. They'd always be able to spot him with his hat. His son mentioned how, and this made me laugh when I thought about it. His son mentioned how John always liked to dress nicely, and he always was in, the golf shirts. I don't think there was ever a place where I was when we were playing golf or at a tournament where he didn't ask me, "Hey kid, come here. What do you think of this shirt? Should I get this shirt or this shirt?" And he always bought a shirt, at least one shirt at every place he was. It wasn't also unsurprising to find out that he would sometimes get deals on those shirts too, because he could talk anybody into anything. So, I don't know. To me, he was, he wasn't much older than my own parents, but he was like a grandfather to me. He was the same type, maybe because, his family recent immigrants. My grandfather, he just had an air about him that was just like my grandfather, and just part of the family. And I cried a lot, but I also laughed a lot. And in the room, you just knew everybody was there. Everybody had their own stories and experiences. And I just so totally feel like he's up there watching us, and he'll always be with us in spirit. Just to get a little teary-eyed, but just love that guy.
I talked earlier today about my thoughts on the Whistling Straits trip with John and Thomas, and Jen, you and I talked about this over the weekend when or the last couple of days, when we heard about John, and not surprised to hear that Thomas talked about it in his eulogy. What were your thoughts? Because that was classic John. That trip was, to me, was classic John. From the restaurant that we went to, the way he ordered food for everybody, the way he called the owner over and the chef over, and just, I mean, that was John.
To me, it was also knowing. So here's another thing that I don't know, Tim, how much you knew or didn't know. It would be, he was always looking out for the details. It was always he'd call me and say, "Hey, Jen, I'm going to book this for, my son and I, we're coming out. This is the special trip." And he'd be asking me a question, and then he'd call me back and he'd say, "I just wanted to let you know I made my reservations, and this is where we're staying, and this is why." And then he'd give me the whole thing about it. And he'd touch base with me and say, "I read the email that you sent out, and you covered this, but you didn't say anything about this." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right. I'll mention it to Tim. We'll put it in the next one." And it was, he was so excited about that trip. It was because for him, it was being able to be there with his son and having that family experience. And part of what Thomas said at the service was it was a lot colder than we expected that first day. And he said he looked over at his dad when they were going for the practice round. Mind you, we were there in May, and it was cold.
It was cold.
It was cold.
And Chris, you know I don't like the cold, and when it comes to baby, I'm fully admitting that I'm a baby when it comes to cold.
Yeah.
It was cold, but I'll have you this, let you know this. I was out on the range that whole time, getting people to their tee boxes, make sure they got to the tee box on time, because it was the Skins game was not shotgun, it was a tee time event, and I stayed out there. We got everybody off, and all I had was a light jacket, and it was cold.
It was cold. It was cold and windy.
Uh-huh.
And so they were going out for their practice round, which was one of the details that he had planned, that they were going to play in a practice round. And so he looks at John, and John was wearing every piece of clothing he had brought with him because it was so cold. So he had layer after layer. And as soon as Thomas said that, I remembered that. Like, I pictured him, and he had shirt and a jacket and everything. And so he decided that he was not going to play that round. He was going to go sit inside. And when Thomas finished, he came inside and introduced Thomas to the bartender and told him everything he needed to know about her, because he had sat and given her the John D treatment. So, but John would just, he wanted to make every tournament special. When he was thinking about retiring from running the tour, and he was lining up the new tour directors, people don't know it, but he stayed on in the background for over a year because he didn't want to give up making sure that his players were taken care of. And so he would call me. Sometimes he couldn't get into the system, so I had to help him with that. But he was watching. He was paying attention. He was making sure everybody had what they needed. He was, another thing he would do that, oh my God, drove me crazy as the person who had to train the tour directors, because he would send out emails that were all lowercase or all capitalized and run-on sentences, and he wrote those emails the same way he talked and put things in there that should not have been in an email. And I was just like, oh no, please don't do this. But he was in there just because he wanted to make sure that his players were taken care of. And that's just what he did.
I think that's a good way to end this. And Jen, I appreciate you coming on and talking about this, talking about John and your memories of him and what he meant to the tour and how he thought of the tour and the players. So thank you all. We'll see you next time.
All right, that's a wrap for this week's episode. But Chris, after all this time, you would think we would remember this stuff.
We forgot to tell people how to register, didn't we?
Yep, take it away.
Well, if you're not already part of the Golfweek Amateur Tour, what are you waiting for? Grab your clubs, join the fun, and see what competitive golf is all about. You can sign up today and start meeting some incredible folks who love the game as much as you do.
All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click the Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership dues.
And hey, don't forget, if you're enjoying the podcast, you can catch us on all of the major podcast platforms. Be sure to download, share it with your golf buddies, and throw us a quick review if you're feeling the love. It helps us keep bringing you the good stuff and reaching even more golfers out there. Thanks for hanging with us, and until next time, keep swinging and having fun out there.
We'll see you next time. Take care.